Agent 365 is out, and with it, brand new licensing. I'm going to cover what's changed in this licensing, how it used to work, how it works right now, and more. Let's get into it. So the way the licensing used to work in Agent 365 is that it was applied to agents. If you've been using this in the Frontier program, you probably have never even used a license unless you happened to create agent blueprints and agent instances. I'll touch on exactly what that means here in a bit, because Microsoft's not even talking about this thing. And to me, it's one of the biggest features of Agent 365. It's incredible. But the per agent licensing could be really, really bad. I'll explain why that is the case as well, and why I think a per user license might actually make a lot more sense. But there's two main licensing methods for Agent 365. There's the individual Agent 365 license at $15 per user per month. And then there's the E7 license, the brand new $99 per user per month, at least that's the pricing in the US, license. Either one of those methods will entitle you or a specific user to the Agent 365 Premium. The thing about the E7 that you need to know, see, the A365 license, that's just an add-on license. Whatever the user has currently, you just add on Agent 365. E7 is more of an all-encompassing thing. It's the same as an E5 plus an M365 Copilot license plus the Agent 365 license. So it's all three of those wrapped up into a single license that they've called E7. That's what that is. If you're just getting started and you need to assign just the basic licenses out, and you want to make sure you're covered with Agent 365, and you know you'll need Copilot as well, the E7 is going to make a lot more sense for you, because I believe you do save some money compared to buying an E5 and a Copilot license and the Agent 365 license. Now let's talk briefly about the free features of Agent 365 versus the premium features, because the premium features are the things you have to have the license for. If you aren't using any of those, then you don't need any license at all, at least for that particular user. You don't have to go all or nothing. Certain users will need Agent 365 licensing, others will not. So the free features, let me check my list here. So we have Agent ID, Agent Identity, Agent Registry, the basic agent usage insight. So nothing too detailed there. It's just some basic things. The shadow AI detection. Notice a lot of these things are already coming from other features like Defender and Purview, and like it already had some of that stuff in there. The admin agent governance actions, things like deploying an agent, blocking an agent. Of course it's free. It already came from the Teams Admin Center. They're essentially just moving the Teams App Store over into the M365 Admin Center and being just specific for agents. So we already had that functionality before. They're just giving us a specialized version, and they're not charging us anything extra for it. No surprise there. That's still completely free. Oh, and that also includes reassigning agents, which that is net new functionality. Audit logs and e-discovery, blocking sanctioned shadow AI agents, all of that is completely free. No license needed whatsoever for that. Now, there's a lot of other features that are premium features, and they are going to be the more sophisticated things like the agent map or the detailed insights. A lot of those kinds of things, if a user is interacting with an agent and you need the insights on that agent, then the user needs a license. If only one user is using the agent, then only that one user needs a license. If 100 users are interacting with that agent, and you need all the detailed information, or you need to be able to see this agent on the agent map, you need to see all this extra insights, If it's 100 users using it, all 100 will need the Agent 365 license. We'll get right back to the video, but real quick, Copilot is really great for working with your data, but how are you protecting that data? If you don't have a backup and recovery strategy, here's your wake-up call. Think your cloud data is safe just because it's in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace? Think again. Accidental deletions, ransomware, and compliance gaps can still put your business at risk. AFI is a next-gen backup and recovery platform built for modern cloud environments, including Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, Azure, AWS, and Kubernetes. It offers full fidelity restores, encrypted full-text search, version history, and even self-service recovery, so users can get back data without waiting on IT. And when ransomware hits, AFI detects it early and automatically backs up your data before damage is done. Over 10,000 organizations trust AFI to protect their cloud data. If you care about uptime, compliance, and peace of mind, it's time to back up smarter with AFI. Now, in essence, the more detailed analytics, the more heavily security-focused features, all of those things are the things that are included with the premium license, the premium feature set. So if you just need the bare basics, that's the free stuff you get. All the things that are much more security and governance focused, that is the premium set of features. And there will be checks. Now, this isn't one of those situations where it's like if you have an M365 Copilot license or if you don't, where you simply don't have the web grounding or you don't have the work grounding tab, you don't have all that stuff. There isn't that sort of functionality here. So everything's going to be available. It is on you to remain in compliance. Microsoft it looks like they will be doing some checks to see if you're in compliance. And if they see that you aren't properly licensed, they'll make sure that you do get licensed. They will be probably contacting you when they do your license review periodically or things like that. There is a note on this page, and there'll be a link in the description below for this as well, that multiplexing, if you're familiar with that term with like Power Platform licensing, where you kind of like do some sneaky things to try and limit the number of premium licenses you need, multiplexing won't be allowed here. So I would see that as something like if there is a shared account and everyone's logging into this shared account and from there, they're accessing all their agents. Something like that definitely is not going to fly with Microsoft. Just, pony up the money and make sure that you're in compliance and getting all the benefits. Now, one interesting thing here is that while most people think of Agent 365 as governing their own in-house developed agents, this also applies to first-party and third-party agents as well. So if you're getting one from Microsoft, maybe it's Researcher, and you're wanting to make sure that there is communication compliance from Purview being enforced, that it's watching out for certain things like that, that is a premium feature. So you'll need licensing for those scenarios, even if it comes from Microsoft, as well as the third-party licenses you may get from or the third-party agents you get from a vendor as well. So it's all of the agents, regardless of whether you develop them or not. And the terminology that Microsoft uses in this long licensing article is that the user, if they're interacting with an agent, or if they're the owner, sponsor, or manager of the agent. Now, that's some interesting wording, the manager of an agent or the sponsor of an agent. One thing it does remind me of, though, is the agent instancing. I believe I made a video on this as well, talking about what the agent instancing is in the agent blueprints, but that's where you actually see a human being a manager of an agent. It actually shows up in the org chart. If you were to hover over the agent, you would see it reports to, Adele Vance or whoever it happens to be. That's part of the whole blueprinting and agent instancing, where you deploy an agent blueprint and people don't use the blueprint directly. Instead, they create their own copy of that. They get to name the agent whatever they want. The agent would act as a user in that situation. And it would be a user that is reporting to the person that created that instance. So I could have an entire team of AI teammates. I think that is the new phrase that Microsoft and other people are using for this pattern of agent usage. But it's an AI teammate because they act just like a user. They have a mailbox. I can email them. I can mention them in Word documents, and they can respond right inside the comments. I could all the things I would normally do to a regular human worker or to interact with them. I could do that with this AI teammate. That's part of the agent instancing anyway. So when you see some phrasing like that, and I'm definitely planning on covering the agent instancing on my channel as well, so you can kind of see how do you actually build an agent to do this, because Copilot Studio does not do this. At least not currently. I don't think Power Platform's capable of this level functionality. This is something that you have to use code to develop. So using the M365 Agents Toolkit, using the Agent 365 SDK, but you're creating an agent with code that can be a blueprint and get instanced and all that. Anyway, just wanted to touch on that. But one interesting thing about those, they're not licensed separately. They don't count, like each instance doesn't count as an individual license. Now, that's how it used to work, where the blueprint didn't use a license, but every instance of that blueprint would consume a license. In fact, I think on my environment, it still is how the things are licensed. So my own environment hasn't gotten updated yet, where I could assign an Agent 365 license to a user. It's still making me assign them to an agent. So I don't know, interesting scenario there. But where this does really come into play, and where I think that the per user licensing is more effective, is that a single licensed user can create, manage, and use multiple blueprints and agents and agent instances, all of that, but they only use one single license. So where you look at the future and you see an individual worker with a team of AI agents that work beneath them, the licensing makes a lot more sense there. That is where I think Microsoft is and the industry is headed, so that instead of necessarily working with M365 Copilot on a regular basis to say, go do this one task, and then once that's done, now do this other task, and then once that's done, go do this next task. You have work that you can delegate out to individual agents that are all working in parallel. They could even talk to each other and collaborate. It's a much more scalable version of how we currently work with M365 Copilot. And again, one user could have 10, 20, 100 agents that all work beneath them. The user is the manager, to go back to that other terminology. And the user only needs a single license. So I think that's pretty powerful, and it's going to really open the door to those AI teammates. And that's definitely the kind of development that I am interested in, because in all my testing so far, it's incredibly cool. Now, a lot of organizations that are rolling out Copilot, they're certainly rolling out agents. They're all using DSPM for AI, which is a feature inside Microsoft Purview. And you can still use this without a license. Normally, you just need the appropriate I think it's E5 license for Purview. And can you still do this without Agent 365? Yes, you absolutely can. DSPM for AI will work exactly the same. But if you need to be able to see the agent-specific activity, and I think it's in the Activity Explorer where that shows up at, if you need to be able to see that, you have to have the Agent 365 license. Again, it goes back to, is it more basic insights that you're getting from DSPM for AI, maybe on M365 Copilot usage? Or is it agent-specific activity? If it's that detailed activity, whoever's using DSPM for AI, they've got to have that Agent 365 license just to stay in compliance. So the license changes in general, were they a good move? Because a lot of people aren't crazy about yet another user license that they have to go and buy and assign to their users. There's a couple of different things here working. One is with the shift from agent licensing to user licensing. This works better in the fleet of agents scenario, where one user has a bunch of agents. They only need one license to get that functionality. And the other way, the older style, they could potentially need one license for every single one of those agents. And the only time you would see savings are when multiple people were using a single agent. That's the only time you would really see the savings there. I think we're seeing a lot more of a shift towards AI teammates being a thing. And so in that case, the user-based licensing works better. The other factor is the standard versus premium feature. I think this is going to make customers choose between if they have certain agents, especially agents that are using what we call OBO authentication, or on behalf of authentication. This is what we're typically used to, where the agent has the exact same permissions as the end user that's talking to it. If I talk to an agent, the agent uses the same permissions that I do because it's essentially acting on behalf of me. Does that make sense? Versus the agent authentication. Now, this is more of the AI teammate scenario. There's some other scenarios where this could work as well. And it's more commonly associated with something like a Copilot Studio agent, where the agent could use the maker's credentials, not the end user's credentials. But in this scenario, the agent has its own credentials. And where that gets really powerful, the agent instancing alone is commonly used with that scenario. But what it gives you is the agent can be granted access to specific resources. Maybe it's read-only access, maybe it's read-write, maybe it's just to one SharePoint site, maybe it's to a set of Teams channels, something like that. The agent has its own permissions, and it can act on that regardless of what the end user has access to. Now, this could be a very beneficial thing if you don't want to give the end user the access on the back end. You want some sort of a separation there. But the point is that either one of those scenarios will work regardless of whether you want just the basic functionality or just with the premium functionality. Either one, you'll be choosing not based off of the agent functionality you want, but the agent insights and the security you want for your agents. It is, I agree, it is a little odd that you're going to license a user for agent monitoring, but that's how it works. I think in the long run, people will see it does make more sense as we start to shift to these fleet of agent scenarios where only certain users actually need that behavior. And they get a lot of value for those single licensed users versus a lot of other agent scenarios where the company may not want all the detailed insights. Maybe they're just the on behalf of agents, and there's so many guardrails that they're less concerned about some of these, and maybe they don't worry about licensing for those. You save it for the agent instances or the agent authentication scenarios where there is higher risk, there is higher concerns, and you could save your licensing for those scenarios. You definitely can get more strategic about how you're licensing and when you're licensing and what rules will be governing the agents you build and the functionality and the insights that you build into that. So let me know what questions you have about Agent 365 licensing. Just put them right in the comments below and I'll get to them as fast as I possibly can. And let's just talk through this. Are there any things that you're confused about? What can I help you with Agent 365 licensing or features or anything like that? If you want to talk about agent instances, let's have at it. And if you want to see more Copilot agent videos, just click or tap the screen and I'll see you over there.